All right, everybody, welcome to the Flat Out Podcast. I am your host, Lion Luke, and today we got a pretty special show for you. We got the man named Tom, the myth, the legend, the one. He's a man that loves drones, wrestling, and medical supplies. What? What is this man all about? Well, we'll tell you right here with this interview we got going with him. This is going to be part 1. We still got part 2 and part 3 getting ready to drop. I ended up talking to this man for over 2 hours, so I had to split it up. He's an amazing man. He's been my friend, basically my brother, since probably the time I was born. We probably ran around in diapers together. I'm not sure if I remember that far back, but we did enjoy some very nice memories growing up. Had a very similar childhood growing up in the hills of West Virginia. We're going to talk about some of that. Had 2 similar dads that worked the coal mines. We're going to talk about that. We had parents that watched wrestling, family members and friends that watched wrestling. We're going to talk a little about that, but most importantly, we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the inspirational story known as the one, known as Tom. In this part 1, we're going to hear a little bit about the background of how we grew up in West Virginia and the fathers that we had and the family and friends that we shared. And we're going to talk a little bit about wrestling. So, Lion Luke tells you to stand up, sit up, whatever you're doing, it don't matter. Strap it up because we're getting ready to go. 1, 2, 3, let's get it. All right, welcome to the Flat Out Podcast. I am your host, Lion Luke, and I'm here with a very special guest today, hailing from the southern states. He's a drone master, or should I call him the one? This is Mr. Tom. Tom, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I know we talked earlier today and a little bit last week or so, but we don't catch up very often enough.
Nah, I haven't seen you in years, man.
I know. Dude, I haven't been up in that way in probably about 8 years now, I think.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder if you're just scared of the place or not.
Well, we both were raised in the same area. It's a little bit to be scared of.
Yeah, there's always a few things here and there that you got to worry about.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the wildlife or the people. I don't know which one more I'm scared of.
Hey, each one's equally dangerous.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and jump in here. And we were both raised, you more so than I, in the great state of West Virginia, home of the Rocket Boys. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's a great movie called October Sky. So, what are you doing now? I know that last we spoke, you were doing some laboratory stuff. What is it that you currently do now?
Well, actually, I am an RN. I'm getting my master's to become an NP.
Getting your master's?
And I do histology work.
Now, what is...
which is pretty much...
Yeah, what is that?
Well, let's see. You have people come in and they get certain things removed, and I take and slice it up and stain it and look for cancer.
Okay, so you're doing like where they slice it up like extremely thin type of thing?
Yeah, the slices we use, it takes 5 slices to make the thickness of a sheet of paper.
That's crazy. Now that's thin. If only my diet did that well, I can tell you that.
We take most of the stuff that people find, and they got different stains for each one.
Right.
And specific things that they look for to tell if it's cancer or not. Usually it's the cells that don't supposed to be there.
Right.
Say you take endometriosis, okay? What that is, it's a woman's cervix or uterus. Some of the cells slough off, and they end up somewhere in the body they're not supposed to be.
Right, so you're talking about the baby maker, the uterus, right?
Yeah, that place. So, say their hormones are around that time of month.
Right.
Okay. And it will signal any cell that is part of that part of the body.
Right.
Okay? And they'll get certain symptoms no matter where that cell is. So, say you got something that's sloughed off and it goes off into different parts, say maybe a lung, and then it gets hit with the hormones, and now all of a sudden it starts to bleed.
Oh, boy.
That can cause problems. So
well, that does sound like a problem, the whole bleeding thing. Now, for my 0 listeners that are tuning in right now, what does sloughed off mean?
That means, okay, say you scratch your skin.
Right.
And sometimes you'll get little cells under your hand.
Right. Now, is this a medical term, the sloughed off, or is this the hillbilly talking?
No, it's a medical term.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I would have totally, I've actually used that word before and just talking, well, daggone, he's just sloughing off it over there, like he's being lazy. He's just sloughing off over there. I didn't realize that was a medical term, so I've been talking smart this whole time, didn't even know it.
Hey, man, you might be smarter than you think you are.
Well, we ain't going to... Well, what I think is I'm pretty daggone smart. I'm basically the Einstein of Florida, just saying. And
hey, my dad always says, it depends on what place and at what time on the earth that you are.
Right.
Will determine how smart or how dumb you are.
Your dad, man, he's a character. He cracks me up. Every time he comes down here, he cracks me up. But, well, speaking of your dad, let's go back, because, me and you were, raised very similarly. We both had parents that worked in the coal mines, and as we both know, the coal mine work is, well, it's not easy. That's a fact. A lot of cave-ins, a lot of
backbreaking work.
Oh yeah, well, my dad always just tell me that he would literally just be crawling around, like there wouldn't be enough room in the mine shaft for him to even get up on all fours like a dog or anything. That he would have to belly crawl, and you'd have to shovel the coal or pick the coal or whatever it is that they do down there on your freaking belly. Use the bathroom on your belly, eat your lunch on the belly, and in the meantime you're in this nasty coal water that's down there too.
Something smells rotten around here.
Well, I've heard plenty of stories, and yes, they've went in places in which it's been a very tight squeeze and they have to pick it out. I went back in once, and I'll never go back again. It's some of the darkest dark you'll ever see. They have these things called scoops.
Yeah, SE scoops,
pretty much
right?
what they ride back in and grab the coal and bring it back.
Right.
If they don't have the belt on.
Right.
And the scoop, it's probably anywhere from 2 to 3 feet tall.
And they stick about 4 people on that thing, don't they?
They try to stick as many as they can on it, but usually they'll hold maybe 3 to 4 people comfortably. Well, as comfortable as you can. And they drove me back in there, and I'd say it had a clearance of maybe 2 inches.
Oh, geez.
So you were sunk down in this little hole of this scoop.
Right.
Riding in this dark pit into the side of a mountain, 3 or 4 miles. Yeah, it's not fun.
Now, I've seen them things. As you know, I used to travel around with my dad in my early 20s, 20, 21, somewhere around there. And we used to sell all that stuff. There's the scoops and the big, pretty much everything, that had to do all the way down to batteries that had anything to do with operating a mine. So I never rode one, but I, always got to see them because I was, selling them. And those things, they're not, I know we say that it's like 2 inches worth of clearance space and they try to put people on there and everything. They're bigger than what you think from hearing what we're talking about. Basically, it's this battery-operated, flat car, so to speak, and you lay down in it or sit down, lay down at the same time because you don't want to get your head whacked off as you're going through there. Helmets only help so much.
Well, I use hard hats. Not really a helmet. I've scraped mine a few times. It's not fun.
No,
because, you have that thing in the back of your mind, well, what if I was up just a little bit further?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's
these things are probably longer than a car, and I'd say I think wider than one too. It's just
Yeah,
very short.
That's what I'm saying. You know, they're a lot bigger of a machine than the way we're making them sound, but they're so low to the ground. There's basically no clearance as far as from the machine to the bottom of the ground.
Right.
And you're just kind of trying to get as flat as you can in that thing, because you know you might be turning a corner that might be a little bit lower than what you was going through, and whoop, see ya. Right?
Yeah, it's not. When they dig into the mountain, it's not completely level. You know, it's not like these highways you go in. But
these fancy
close.
highways that people are using.
Potholes in there just like anywhere else. You know.
Now I did go back into one. I was able to walk in there because it was a high coal seam, which means it's 4 foot or higher. They consider high coal, and so I was able to walk back into one. I had to slump over because I'm short, but I'm not that short. And like you said, man, it was and it's dark, dude. I couldn't imagine, because sometimes they're in there 12-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts, and just pure dark. You got a little bit of a light on top of your head. And back in the day, they used to use what was that stuff called, carbide?
Yeah, and these boys, some of them never see sunshine. They'll go in when it's dark and they'll come out when it's dark, and that's their shift. I
couldn't imagine that, man. I really couldn't. Me, I work nights, so obviously I go in at night and come out at night, but that's a totally different story, than working, in the coal mine in literal dark.
Right.
So what was it like? Because, my dad, he was, by the time I come around, he was like the boss of these coal mines, right?
Yeah, my dad bossed a while. He had to go annually to get his files and papers renewed and all that stuff, which means he's pretty much responsible for everybody that goes back in there.
Right.
And he wasn't the type of person that would sit out front and boss people around. He'd get right into the thick with them. He worked just as hard as the rest of them. He wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that he wouldn't do himself.
Right, it's that respect factor.
Well, that took a toll on his body, too. And now he's disabled and can't really do much. And he's got that...
he ended up... what was he trying to do? He was trying to, pull on one of the belt lines or something, wasn't he?
Well, the night prior to that, he had a rock fall on him. And
now, was
there
that
was
from
somebody
the
in there with him.
Because, they bolt those ceilings up. Was that from the ceiling that fell down on top of him?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
He said the rock was... You didn't know that story?
No, I didn't know that. I thought it was always because he pulled on that belt. It got stuck or something, so he was trying to unjam it and just... pulled the wrong way, and that was that.
No, that was the next night. What it was, he got hurt the night prior to that.
Let me get this straight.
But, being a hometown boy, you just shake it off and you go to do your work. You don't complain.
Right, so you're telling me that this tough son of a gun, right, goes into work, has a freaking literal rock fall on top, and we ain't talking about, no skipping pebbles in the pond here. We're talking
we're talking about, I'd say, the size of... a small UTV.
Right,
fall.
Like a four-wheeler or something, right?
Yeah.
That's a big
And
rock.
what it was, he was back in the mines, and he said he heard something pop. So, him having the experience that he has, he says, he knows the roof is coming.
Right.
So he screams out to the people that he's working with, it's time to get out. And the rock falls, and it kind of scrapes down his back a little bit.
Right.
And one of them actually catches his hand. And the only thing that saved his hand was his ring. And he probably couldn't have got out of there if there wasn't anybody with him to help, pull him out.
So you're telling me the wedding ring helped the weight of the rock from crushing his hand?
Yes. The wedding ring was oval-shaped when he was able to take it off, but that was the only thing that was holding that rock off his hand.
And people say that marriage is the death of you. We got proof positive right here.
Hey, true love can save your life, man.
Proof positive, brothers and sisters out there who is debating marriage. Go ahead and get married. Get that wedding band on there. It could save your life.
That's right.
Or at least your hand, anyways. So you're telling me this tough son of a gun, what would you say? Maybe a ton worth of, maybe a little less worth of weight falling down like that?
I'd say anywhere from 1,500 to a ton. Yeah.
Daggone.
Every bit of that.
I know you said that it kind of scraped his back, but when you got that much weight, a scrape man, that ain't just a scrape. That's basically killing you.
Yeah.
So that's I knew it's some dangerous work, and I always thought that he did it on, just pulling his back out really bad on that, trying to pull the belt, that, the belt that carries all the coal and everything up through there once they put it on there.
No, like I said, that was the next night when he actually did that. See, he comes in, he's like all sore and stuff like that, but, he says once you start working for a while, you warm up and you go about your business.
You get used to the pain.
And, yeah, you get used to it because you're hurting every day.
Right.
It's not like you go up and you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm stiff. No, you hurt every day.
Now, who does that sound like to us? That sounds like someone we both know that does that.
Oh, no, I don't know anybody like that.
Oh, shoot. But, so yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, he almost got crushed and things. I thought it was just a belt thing. But the fact that he's got, freaking grapefruit size going on down there to be able to go back to work the very next night after something like that.
Well, he's had a lot of near-death experiences, apparently, what I was told. There was one time he helped pull this guy out, and he lost his leg. So, he could have been that very same fella, just in a different spot at a different time.
So what was it like, because I know how my dad is, and I think my dad's actually a little bit softer than what yours was, back then. It's like my mom made him be softer with me,
Well, when you get older, that kind of happens. You realize that you start to alienate people a little bit, and you don't want to be the person that you become, kind of thing.
Right. Now, we don't want to
be the kids. Go ahead.
I said, well, we don't want to, we're not talking bad about anybody. It's just, life, Yeah,
it's just the way you're raised.
And especially down there, in them woods. And when I say West Virginia, we're not talking about, Walmart's right down the street. You can just pop into the gas station real quick on your way home or whatever. We're talking about, what was it? Probably about, 30 minutes, maybe a little less car ride to the nearest gas station? That was on top of that hill, right?
It was a 40-minute ride to the nearest hospital, and I'd say the nearest Walmart was probably about an hour and a half away.
Right, yeah, I remember your dad and your mom, when they would go to Walmart, man, they went to Walmart, and they bought everything they needed for like a month at a time.
Oh, yeah. We'd spend $300 or $400, and that was a lot of money back then.
Could you imagine going back to stuff like that now that both of me and you are living in civilization?
Shoot, I couldn't do that.
Could you imagine?
I run 5 to 10 minutes to work. I'd say 15 minutes from a Walmart. I don't think I could go back to living in the boonies and worried that if I break my leg, I won't make it to the hospital.
Yeah, you're going to lose that leg before you get there.
Yeah, put me down like an old horse.
Right. But, I mean, when we describe this, it's literal, hills. It's hills, mountains, trees, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, let's say for these people that don't really know the mountains, we had a cousin that had married somebody that was born and raised in the flatlands of the northern Indiana.
Yeah.
And he brings her down to visit for a family reunion and was scared to death because we have these snake roads, is what I call them, because they're all windy and stuff.
And
there's no guardrails.
Those things.
And you look over the side of a mountain, and it is a drop of, I'd say, a couple thousand feet anyway.
Wasted.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we ride these roads, there's no problem. You learn how to drive here, and you can drive anywhere. But
if I remember
she didn't want to come back.
If I remember correctly, didn't you have a Mustang that you used to take up and down them snake roads?
I still have that Mustang.
You still have that Mustang?
That is my work car. I ride it every day.
Nice. I used to love that
I haven't cleaned it in 5 years.
I haven't cleaned mine since I owned it. Okay.
Well, I guess it's just a guy thing.
Yeah, the only time I pick up the trash is when I can no longer reach the pedals.
Well, I try to keep the gas and brake clear, but the rest of them, it's fair game.
Yeah, it's fair game. Yeah, if you want to sit in the passenger seat, all I can say is start shuffling with your feet to get underneath the trash, brher.
That's right. Or either you take about 20 minutes to clean it out a little bit.
That's right. I ain't cleaning it. You're the one wanting to sit down.
That's right. Hey, that reminds me of a story. My uncle came in. It was on 4th of July. We had to run down to get some sodas or something from the store. And it just had started raining. There were two ladies that said that they wanted a ride. They gave me this big sap story about how they came up to visit their uncle for the weekend because it was 4th of July weekend.
Right.
And her car had broke down. Like her automatic transmission went out or something like that. She had to leave her babies in the car to come up and get some help. So, me and my uncle, tried to give her a ride down there. And she gave me this whole spiel the whole time, how they went and stayed at the shelter. They had to feed them sugar packets and all that stuff to keep their energy up. And so here I was thinking, I'm like, you're starving your kids. You're leaving them in the car.
Yeah.
When you could have left them down here at the shelter, because we've got places for people like that, take care of them.
Right.
So as we keep getting further and further closer to where she says she had parked her car, she had asked me for some money. She said, can you spare $50 or so we can get some groceries for the kids and all that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll stop up here, and I'll get you some milk, some bread, some stuff to put on it so you can feed your kids. But as far as cash, I have no cash on me. All I carry is cards.
Right.
And she said, well, you can stop up here and let me off here at the Dairy Queen. I'll ask somebody else.
Ah. You're an inspiration for birth control.
She was,
and you run across people like that.
So. Yeah. It's the same thing here, we call them professional beggars. You ever heard that term?
No, I have not.
Well, down here in Florida, we have what we call professional beggars, and they will literally put on the dirtiest, bummy-looking clothes, raggedy-taggedy jackets, and most of the time it's some kind of Vietnam or World War II looking jacket to give the image of they're a vet.
Mm-hmm.
And people obviously, respect the Army and the military and what they do to provide us to be able to do what we do here free. We're free people. We don't have, we're not the ones going over there risking our lives. So obviously we're going to show more sympathy and respect towards people like that. So they're called professional beggars. They go out there and they look like they do, right? And they stand on the side of a busy street, most of the time right there in the median, like off of I-75 or some major highway or something. So they're catching a lot of traffic. And then, and then they'll walk somewhere where they got their Mercedes parked, take off their clothes. They got a suit underneath, and they're making 5 figures by doing this. They go out there every day, and they panhandle for money, right? And they get people's sympathy. And meantime, they're driving around Mercedes, and I'm driving around some minivan, for crying out loud. And you want money from me? Shoot, you should be the one giving me money, Mr. Mercedes.
That's right.
That's right, and it's all tax free. That's the thing, man. And it's legit. You can look it up and stuff. There's been plenty of news stories on it where, camera crews will actually follow these people back to their vehicles and show them shedding the dirty clothes that just look dirty. They're not legit dirty. And they'll have like some nice suit underneath those clothes or some nice clothes, and they're getting into these high dollar vehicles. And they're making, $200,000-$300,000 a year just panhandling.
Hey, I think I heard a news story on that once.
I'm telling you.
I think it was a Mexican guy had given his last $5 to this guy that was on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And he had followed him back to the gas station or met him at the gas station. And the guy was driving a car that was better than his.
Yeah.
So he confronted him, and, they posted it on the news story about it.
Get back to work, you slacker.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's horrible, man.
It's and I tell you the most horrible thing about it is that when people that actually need your help, a lot of people are like, because now they've been burned by these other people that are, basically posing to be homeless and needing help. And then you see news stories like this, or, like that guy, he followed him back and seen what vehicle he was getting in and stuff. So now you see these people on the side of the road, and you don't know whether you can help them or not.
Yeah, growing up where I was, we always pick up people and give them rides and all that stuff. But, it's not that they're trying to get any money off of you. They just want a place to go, and it's hard to get places sometimes.
Right. And, that's the thing.
All the way up until, I'd say, my mid-20s, I still picked up hitchhikers.
Oh, yeah,
and
man.
I think it was after I got married that I stopped doing that because...
Well, you got more than, you got more than just yourself.
Yeah, I got more shit in me,
Yeah. And that's the thing,
I got somebody to take care of, and, they depend on me, so...
Yeah,
I gotta watch what I'm doing.
The way we were raised, man, and I can't speak for everybody in that era that was raised that way that are now adults like us. But speaking of just me and you and some, a couple of the other ones, you know what I'm talking about. We were raised with respect. You tried to help people when you could help them. You respected your elders. You never, no matter what that elderly person was saying, you just kind of nodded your head and smiled and went along with it. You didn't talk back to them, and or as some people might say, try to set them straight. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I remember plenty of times you you give up your seat.
Yep.
For anyone that's older than you.
Not just your seat, your bed.
Unless you're the same age, and then shuffle your feet, lose your seat, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
shuffle your feet.
Yeah, respect was a big thing growing up.
You know how many times, and when I was lived up north in Indiana, we had that big old farmhouse up there. Had something like, man, I don't know, 12 bedrooms or something, something like that.
Yeah, I love that place.
If you counted the basement after we got done, fixing the basement up. So that's plenty of bedrooms, but the bad thing is there's not always beds in those bedrooms. So when you when you got a lot of the, when the family and the friends, gather together, because, my parents used to do that big 4th of July thing where they would roast that hog and everything.
Yeah, we used to do that every summer.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have 50 people, maybe more?
Every bit of 50 to 60 people, yeah.
Yeah, and the majority of them were staying at that place because it's the biggest place.
Yeah, we'd have, 5-10 kids in one bed?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Most
And that's if you got a bed.
Floor.
That's if you got a bed. I remember having to sleep on the daggone stairs one time. The stairs. And
that place was so hard to heat in the wintertime. I remember coming up there and staying one year.
Oh, yeah.
That we'd have to sleep near where the fireplace was. And, we'd have to get up and poke the fire and soak it back up. Keep the place warm.
Oh, yeah. And this ain't, this wasn't no modern house or anything that has all that insulation. This thing was just stone. It was a stone house, an old farmhouse made of stone and concrete.
Over 100 years old, nice Amish house.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful house.
Beautiful architecture.
You should see what the owners of that have recently been renting out up there since we moved away. Yeah. They've just destroyed that place, man. Destroyed it. You remember that big stone front porch that we had, that wraparound porch we had there in the front?
Yeah, I love that.
You know how it had those like half pillars as you was going up the stairs? It was made of stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they didn't take care of them stones, so now the stones have fallen out. Two of the pillars have collapsed on top of themselves, and it's just like, what are you doing? You got this beautiful piece of property, and you're just letting it decay right in front of you. It's like, I mean, I know you're renting, but at least tell the guy about it so they can fix it or something,
Yeah. That house, if it was completely restored, would probably run you, I'd say, $500,000, $600,000 easy.
Oh, I believe when my parents first got into it, it was like $300,000, and that was back in what, late '80s, early '90s when we ended up moving up there.
Yeah,
I think I was like,
about that time.
I think I was maybe 7 years old, 8 years old. So I don't want to discuss my age here because I already got gray in my beard. I don't want to give away exactly how old I am. I don't want to feel too old. But yeah, and it's just, and they remember that big red barn we had up there? Beautiful red wooden barn.
Yeah, you could probably fit 2-3 houses in it if you wanted to.
Yeah, we used to go up there and play in the hay. We were stupid, man. Stupid kids.
Kids in general are stupid. They really are.
Stupid kids. Used to friggin' take
nowadays, though, you got them in their noses in
a
game or some sort of phone or something like that. They don't even talk to people.
Oh, yeah. You know, what we have growing up? We had Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, and Sega, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but those were games that, you know, you play them for, you know, an hour or two. And if you're on there more than 2 hours, you got your parents coming down saying, "What are you doing?" And they just unplug it from you. And like, you just spent the last hour, and there was no saving on those things. You just spent the last hour trying to get through this level, and you're like about to die. It's like, what did you just do? You don't know.
I remember the first time that I beat Sonic the Hedgehog. You remember that game?
You know, I never beat it.
The original.
I've never beaten it.
You never beat it?
I've never beaten it.
Well, the only way we were able to beat that game is that I had a sleepover at one of my cousin's house, and we stayed up all night. You know, this game did not have a save function, so you started from the front. If you lost your lives, you started over. Yep,
had to start all over. Power went out, start over.
Mm-hmm.
Some kid run across and hit the cord and accidentally unplug it from the wall, start over.
Yeah, the good days.
Oh, yeah. That was the good days. And then we got some Nintendo 64 action, you know, because we, you know, growing up, I'd say probably 90% of the population down there were huge wrestling fans.
Oh, I don't remember going every Sunday and watching pay-per-views.
Yep.
Whether they be recorded or whether they be live, they'd have something out there.
Oh, yeah, your dad, well, he's a WCW guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
When Sting and Hulk Hogan and all them was on there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember. Do you remember when Hulk Hogan went bad, right?
This right here is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
That destroyed my childhood.
My brother is probably one of the biggest Hulk Hogan fans that I know of. And he defended that man from the time he became a bad guy to the time he started good again.
Yeah, oh yeah. But, you know, that was the way the era was going at the time, and it wasn't just, you know, showing in wrestling. It was showing in society and movies and things like that, that the bad guys are the cool good guys. You know what I mean? It's cool to be bad.
Oh, yeah.
So that was, you know, but as a kid, you don't know that. You just know that this dude that wore red and yellow, that marched down to the ring to that fantastic song, tore his shirt off, flexed a couple times, punched a guy in the face a couple times, dropped a big boot, and walked away with the championship. You're like, hell yeah. Now all of a sudden he's saying, I did it for the money. And you're just like, oh, my whole childhood was ruined. It's like, no, Hogan, no. But then you get older and you're like, well, that was pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and I feel sad. You know, I don't want to talk a whole lot about wrestling, but I feel sad for the kids growing up today that are wrestling fans, and there's a lot of them out there because it's definitely geared more towards children than it ever, you know, probably since the late 80s. They'll never get to see what we saw. I mean, we saw the Monday Night Wars, the literal war between two companies, WCW and WWF, and they were just
were trying to outdo one another,
putting on fantastic TV programming. And I don't say that just as a wrestling fan. I mean it as like a fan of TV. It was just good TV. And you had your Austins and everything. You know, Austin changed the game.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Completely. Austin changed the game.
Yeah, when he first got hurt and he had to take off time, and he did the whole pretty much promos. He'd come out and start talking on the mic.
What?
That's when it started getting really good because him and Vince had this war.
Oh, dude, it was amazing.
What?
It was amazing.
What?
He just talked trash.
Yeah.
Talk trash, flip you the bird, kick you in the stomach, and drop you on a stack of dimes. Boom.
What?
Stunner. Done.
What?
And he didn't care who you were. You could be a good guy, bad guy, whatever. If you got in his way, he's going to mow you down.
What?
And keep going towards that championship.
What?
And that's what.
And it was fun to watch.
What?
It was fun.
Sometimes.
What?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't a chore. It wasn't like, I got, 3 hours of it like it is today. It's 3 hours long.
What?
And I review Raw and I review SmackDown on my show here. But, man, I'd say 85% of the time I am having to chore through it. It's 3 hours long. The storylines are kind of meh,
You got time for me to tell you a story?
And you got all this other great television going on. You got The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad a couple years ago. You got great Game of Thrones. You got all this great television that's going on with all these complex story arcs and interesting individuals. And then you try to watch, the wrestling product nowadays, and it's just like, man.
What?
Yeah, I hate to sound like one of those people. It's like, one of those grumpy old men. It's like, well, my music was better back in the day. This stuff you listen to nowadays is garbage. But that's the way I feel.
Yeah, and you had to know that your parents felt that way too.
Oh, I'm sure. My mom...
You're just getting old.
Oh, yeah. My mom ruined it for me. Because I hate even today having to call wrestling fake. Because it's not fake, it's just predetermined. There's a difference. They're really going out there putting their body on the line to do just some fantastic... have you ever bumped on a mat before on one of them wrestling rings?
Well, it's not easy.
It hurts, dude.
They earn their money.
Oh, yeah. And then you're thinking...
And they pay for it when they get older,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they're on the road 300 and some odd days out of the year. Could you imagine just traveling 300 and some odd days out of the year for your work? That's
crazy. I definitely wouldn't have a family life.
Yeah, well, probably most of them have been divorced 50 times, old Ric Flair.
Today, I've got the style and profile like never before.
Oh, you gotta love it, man. I'd say he's probably one of the greatest wrestlers. Not really the best wrestler as far as
in ring,
having the most, the best moves and all that stuff. Right. But as far as entertainment value,
oh yeah,
I don't think there could be any better.
Oh yeah, I mean, the way he talked, and the fact that he actually, probably to his detriment, because he still lives that way, living that whole lifestyle of the character that he was. He eventually became that character. And
styling and profiling.
Yeah, limousine riding, jet flying. Yeah. Woo, nature boy.
Woo!
But so I mean, talking about wrestling kind of gets me back to the way that we were raised. How was it living in that household? Because like I said, I moved to Indiana when I was 7 years old, so the majority of my memories from then was as a kid. I didn't go through my teenage years or anything like that down through there, but you did. What was that like growing up in that type of rural area and the hard work that it takes just to stay alive down there, not to mention trying to make a living, and having a dad who was hardened from the kind of hard life he was raised with and the jobs and stuff that he had in the coal mines, because you got to be a hard son of a gun to survive. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for hitting the download button, the view button, whatever it is and however it is that you listen to this, whether it be on YouTube or Spreaker.com/LionLuke. If you're going on YouTube, it's YouTube, and just look up Flat Out Podcast, and you'll find it right there. If you see the little lion symbol, you found it. Now, I want to thank you. We're going to go on to part 2. That was the end of part 1 there. Part 2, we're going to be covering a little more into the inspirational story that I think Tom is, the one, the myth, the legend, the drone man, has. How you go from being a single man, going into college, going for your doctorate degree. You get accepted into the hardness that is medical school. Thousands of people try every year and only hundreds are selected, and he was one of them. You get married, you have a child, and then all of a sudden things change. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the inspirational story of how he survived, adapted, and thrived. So come back and join me for part 2. Again, If you got any comments or questions or maybe some topic ideas, I think Tom is going to be a regular occurring guest. We also got Backlash 2017, which just aired a couple days ago. Me and Tom have went ahead and reviewed that for you. It's going to drop in 2 different parts. Easy listening, as I call it. Anything over an hour and a half, I think, is a chore. I know when I listen to podcasts, if I see something that's an hour and a half, I just go ahead and click away. So I like to keep mine between 40 minutes to an hour. I think that's easy listening on your way to work, on your way home from work, trying to go to sleep, whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's easy listening. So come on back. We're going to have Backlash 2017 review for you. WWE. It's a SmackDown Live pay-per-view. And we're also going to have part 2 and part 3 of my interview with the inspirational one known as Tom. So I want to thank you again. Hit me up, email me, comment me at flatoutpodcast@gmail.com. Again, I am your host, Lion Luke, saying sit down, strap up, and get ready for some confetti. I don't know what that means, but I think it might make it my new slogan. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it's good? Go ahead and email me and let me know. Anyways, I'll see your ass down the road.